Morning, and I'm showing you what is the same exact location as far as the property of Alvarado Gardens, and using so that you can see the time. It is indeed 10:31 now. The seconds turn to, I meant to start at 10:30 with regard to negligible difference with regarding seconds. With regard to seconds, it's June 22nd, 2024. It's 10:31. This is in reference to documentation captured at started at 10:27. The video ended at 10:30. And I am yesterday on Friday inside of my leasing office. And again, to remind you regarding the placement of the light source and my physical position on the property of Alvarado Gardens, showing what is not capable of being seen based on the natural environment. If this is the sun that's in a position in alignment with the leasing office window, it is not maintaining that same positioning over the center of my head, the top of my head in the same manner as it is since it was captured this morning, 6:30 in the morning, not moving in any position to be seen outside of the leasing office window in the manner that I capture it, where you will also see the entity is targeting with helicopter activity, and that light source maintains presence everywhere that I'm moving on the property while I'm at work and while I remain inside of my apartment, which is the ongoing pattern of conduct, which I've already shown. And the pattern of conduct of group stalking is shown through the unnatural environment. And then that's giving you greater context to what is actually unnatural and demonic behavior with regard to what the demon-possessed population wants to appear as on the surface, even though, let me be clear, the people of the state have quite a feat. There's nothing that you can make natural regarding your demonic behavior. It is by definition demonic in the demonic environment. It is by definition demonic in concert with the demon-possessed group stalkers in helicopter. This entity is stalking so heavily in helicopter, you don't even have a basis to feign that you're doing anything other than group stalking. And this is how you're prosecuting the people. In addition to that, the people have already demonstrated their demon possession, which is speaking to malice, while you're maintaining what is suspect presence in the demonic environment. You're group stalking, and your demons doing the same, in concert with the state, who are demon possessed, engaging in what is a matter of public corruption, and a massive matter of public corruption, as I have for a series of years now captured what is impossible, that you would have this level of a pattern of conduct amongst a population, including in different regions, where they are mirroring the exact same behavioral patterns, and that which is occurring in amongst the scientific impossibility, that the sun is going to both rise and set over me, that the sun is going to maintain its presence in its zenith over the top of my head, no matter where I'm at, no matter what time of day it is, whether I am remaining inside of one address and I go to an entirely distinct location and do the same thing, and the sun engages in the same exact behavior. It's a scientific impossibility, and it is to the exclusion of every other place in the nation, in the state, in the city, while I stay at one address, including while I go from city to city on public transportation, for example, and then you're seeing a grand departure from that. The two are not happening at the same time. This is vividly illustrated, for example, when I go to the DMV in Glendale, California, and every other day I'm remaining stationary at Alvarado Gardens. You're engaging in a grand departure where the light source is remaining in perfect alignment with me through my living room window, setting it through my bedroom window. You're engaging in a grand departure where the light source is remaining over me through my leasing office window, remaining over my head, keeping in alignment with my leasing office as I walk out at 5 p.m., and then maintaining alignment with my bedroom window when I go to the DMV in the morning. I'm traveling to that location. The sun cannot be outside of the leasing office window. The sun can't be over my head when I stand outside of the door of my leasing office, when I'm showing this at the same time, when I'm coming up Clifford Street, and I'm looking at the entrance where I arrived in Uber on June 5th, 2024, and I remain on June 20th capturing this on video. I've been present at the same address, not going anywhere. And you've seen what is remaining stationary with the so-called sun. That's not the sun. That is the evidence of what is capturing what is impossible, as normal, non-demon possessed people would recognize, and any scientist that will admit the truth. Okay, the entity is maintaining an engineered environment. This is nothing other than terminology so that people can comprehend what it is that I'm expressing that a demon-possessed government is engaging in. It's engineered, meaning it's not natural. This is something that is peculiarly designed for purposes of what is demonic, but this is criminalizing what the government is doing that is demonic. This is stalking. The government is engaging in group stalking in the demonic environment. You're engaged in surveillance, and it's criminal. You don't have any lawful basis to do so. In addition to that, the criminal system that it is engaging in, it is in every regard demonic. the demonic light activity, the demonic behaviors that they're engaging in, even their demonic methods. You are stalking in helicopters. You are overwhelmed by the spirit of Satan. You are out of your natural mind. You are a psychopath engaging in what is trying to terrorize an American citizen, having no basis, no natural reason or cause to ever want to do that in the first place. And then the entity is also demonstrating their demon possession, while the psychopathic and personality disorders of those of that condition, they show an ongoing progression of hostility, a progression of animosity, a progression of violence exhibited while the entity is engaging in what is inherently violence, by the way. It's domestic violence while the entity is engaging in stalking you. And so you have a government that's engaging in violence against a woman, myself. But again, group stalking is not based on your sex. There are men who are group stalked. The demon possessed are group stalking. So that's a man or a woman can be subject to group stalking. What I'm showing here is the light sources remaining rising in alignment, which I showed in images this morning, 6:30 in the morning. The light source is in the same position outside of my living room window at what is 10:30 in the morning right now. So this is the property where the entity is remaining at, which is what I captured yesterday in the evening, comparing what is the Arrowhead Regional Medical Center where this entity engaged in kidnapping, and I'm showing you the sunset while I'm inside of that facility at 6:28, and I remain inside of this apartment at 6:28. And the so-called sun, that's not the sun. That's why it's not going to be referred to as the sun. The light source is remaining in a stationary position such that I'm looking at it through the bedroom window of the same apartment. I don't have two different apartments. I'm staying at the same address, and so is the fake sun. That's why I'm looking at it, and I'm looking at the demonic light that remains inside of my apartment. It's not sunlight, it's not the sun, nor is this anything less than stalking. It's of a demonic nature. It is group stalking. So what you're looking at right here on this date, it's June 22nd, 2024, and the light source is directly over the top of my head. Here it is here, and if I walk outside of my front door, the light source moves from being seen outside of the living room window. Let me back up some so you can see this is not rocket science. While I move to my front door, the light source is not capable of being over the window while it's over my head, as I've shown you in the zenith over the front door. The fake sun moves as I move. As I go over there, the fake sun will be right above the top of my head, where I can clearly just point my phone out and you can see the light source, okay? But I want you to see for now, this is the light source right here, directly over the top of my head. The fake sun moves as I move. This is where the entity is stalking in helicopter. Now, I'm inside of building 1806, which is where I remain after 12 o'clock, after 1 o'clock, and the fake sun remains here, which is what I've been capturing over and over and over again, not the sun. This is where the fake sun is over me, speaking to the demon possession and the malicious methods of stalking by a population, including a terrorist organization that would like to masquerade and present itself to the world and to the public, that it's a law enforcement agency. They're group stalking, and they're group stalking in secret, in plain sight, and it is malicious. Okay, the demonic environment is present in plain sight, and the group stalking, the demonic activity is present in plain sight. It is only capable of existing and progressing through what is corrupt government actors such as Dominic Choi, Robert Luna, and Karen Bass. Okay, that's the only way that federal group stalking and monitoring is capable of existing and thriving in the ways that I have shown, not only in Los Angeles and in Los Angeles County, but throughout Southern California when I've been in San Bernardino County, where there is no shared sky space, by the way, with the Ovid Family Community Library at 215 East C Street in Ontario, California, or the Red Cucamonga Superior Court, which I am at that courthouse tomorrow, June 23rd, 2022. In 2022 is where I went to the court to document the pattern of conduct that I'm subject to by that court that exercised fictitious authority, kidnapping me while they are a demon-possessed entity, enabling this corrupt system to exist, and the entity is maintaining that specific environment, speaking to demons who are sitting on the bench, demons sitting in the DA's office, demons conducting themselves as though they have some sort of case against you, and they're engaging in kidnapping you, trying to conceal the fact that they are indeed engaged in a matter of public corruption, which is starting at the outset. This is the light source that's still over me in the same way that it was this morning at 6:30. And this is the light source that's not in alignment. Where it is right here over my head through building 1806 is not the same position while I am at the top here, captured yesterday on video at 10:27 in the morning. 10:30 is when the video ends, and the entity is stalking in helicopter that is flying directly over me, where you see the fake sun directly over me, doing so pursuant to real-time knowledge of what I'm doing on a communication device. This is speaking to the Title 18, 22618 subsections 1 and 2, criminal conduct. The entity that's group stalking is also engaging in surveillance on the venue of the internet. This video captured above is going directly toward the people of the state, Yolanda Poon in particular, who is going to federal prison. And as she is being documented, the entity threatens my life, which is its pattern, to target, intimidate, retaliate, threaten, and terrorize and harass as an entity. As you document and enforce your rights against not being subject to terrorism by that demon-possessed entity. All right, this is a criminal act right here, a demon crossing path at Lobdell, and you're looking at that engineer light. That's P.O.C. That's why, let me be clear, 1826 Lobdell is a terrorist living in relevant position, and the entire population is engaging in what is mimicking that which is impossible. Sunlight is never ricocheting off of the driver's side of your car while you're driving by that dusty green gate that is on the grounds of 1826 Lobdell. That's a hostile demon who knows exactly what I'm talking about, and they are targeting, not only by virtue of that directed light, which is a scientific possibility, the outward demonstration of demon possession, mimicked by the way, Waste Management, who is, again, I'm going to prosecute and drain the pockets of that demon possessed company, okay? But you have what is a demon that's driving their own little raggedy car. They are acting as an entity. Everybody at Alvarado Gardens is engaging in that same criminal system together. It's facilitation. All the demons are monitoring together. All they're doing is pacing all around in the sky space, like the entity is doing on helicopter moments earlier today, as I'm documenting the entity and engineer light at 10:25 in the morning, stalking in helicopter.
P.O.C. Quiet enjoyment, violation, stalking with engineered light, and the state of stalking in helicopter. While Title 18 criminal conduct is underway, they're observing exactly what I'm revealing about the ways in which the LAPD and Dominic Choi are going to be permanently removed. And the people of the state that live at Alvarado Gardens group stalking with the state of California by virtue of this crossing path and amplification of audible activity, which is also criminal facilitation, and all the demons that are.
And it's occurring while the light source is directly over my head.
That fake sun is concentrating its.
All right, this is captured at 10:17. The video ends at 10:25 in the morning. And I'm starting this video right now referencing where I'm at in a distinct location, which is outside of, inside of my leasing office at building 1810 and in between building 1808, the leasing office, where I am also reminding you at the same time I am at the Ova Family Community Library on June 16, 2022. I am at the Rancho Cucamonga Superior Court on June 23rd, 2022. At the same time, the entity is maintaining a light source, and that all of the entity is group stalking in the same way that these demons are down here driving on Lobdell and Avalon and Effie, pacing all around with engineered light, both desperate to be a distraction, but also incriminating all of the people of the state. Alvarado Gardens population is going to federal prison for this impunity that they act with. All these demons are on one team, group stalking with the state that is flying over my apartment while a fake sun is over my head inside of my apartment, which is not the natural environment under any circumstances. It is the P.O.C. And the terrorists that are the people of the state are going to federal prison for what I'm documenting inside of the workplace, where there is no shared sky space with where I'm inside of my leasing office. This is what I documented while the enemy is keeping me under surveillance yesterday at the same time.
Targeting me, and engaging in what is the pattern of stalking in a helicopter in a perceptible manner. Stalking in the path by helicopter, and Yolanda Poon's time in federal prison is what's going to be affected by this. Threatening me, targeting me, and engaging in what is the pattern of stalking in a helicopter in a perceptible manner in order to communicate a threat while you document the people of the state. Heather Till's going to federal prison, and so is Yolanda Poon. You also know that they're targeting and that they are demon possessed. This is on the Dominic Choi knows exactly what the demons of the LAPD are engaging in. He is one of them, acting in conformity.
All right, so this is the verse that's directly over the top of my head while I'm inside of my leasing office. I'm going to go ahead and show you what's the light source as I go from my living room window as I go to the step outside. First of all, this isn't sunlight. This is coming underneath a covered structure. This is the presence of the demonic, okay? And the entity that is engaged in group stalking, I want to reference maintaining surveillance, where the entity is indeed using communication devices, engaging in surveillance in that manner as well, which is also legally relevant. And this is the light source that's no longer over the living room window. As I walk to my front door, it's right here and it's over the top of my head, which is not over that leasing office window over there. Moving just like I did from my living room window to here, this is the same place where you saw the sunrise through my living room window. You saw the shadow of that palm tree appearing in the depths of my apartment on my living room wall. This is the light source that's directly over the top of my head while the entity is indeed stalking again in helicopter. And that's serving for the prosecution of a whole community, a whole population who act with impunity. They are indeed animals, and they don't do anything other than engage in more demonic behavior, more terrorism, as they are fully exposed exposed. 1000%. Okay, that's what you have here, stalking in a helicopter. This is exactly what the people of the state are doing, driving on Avalon, on Lobdell Place and Engineer Light, moving across 1826 Lobdell. I'm going to prosecute that third-party group stalker, that the people of the state that live at that address, which represents what all of the rest of them are doing, because sunlight's never ricocheting off of your dusty green gate that's on your property. That's criminal facilitation in the specific environment pursuant to the pattern of conduct by all of the people of the state, and doing so while the light source is now over me as I'm standing at my front door and no longer over my living room window. All right, that is all of the hallmarks, by the way. Stalking by helicopter, doing so where there's this sun that's not over the leasing office. Clearly, the leasing office is over there. And on this day, while I'm looking outside of my leasing office window, that's where the light source is, and that's where also the helicopter activity is.
You also know that they're targeting and that they are demon possessed. This is on the Dominic Choi knows exactly what the demons of the LAPD are engaging in. He is one of them, acting in conformity to a long documented pattern of conduct in the demonic environment where the center of the universe remains around me at 10:28 in the morning. This is the same hillside where I documented the sunrise through my apartment window, which is right here along the...
All right, so you're recognizing what is the entity engaging in, providing ongoing examples of what the population are doing. They are agents of the state. The state of California is riddled with demon possession, and that's the explanation as to this public corruption that I am exposing in the state of California. And you have what are terrorist organizations that ought to cease to exist, and you're absolutely removing the terrorist organizations under the corrupt leadership such as Dominic Choi. Not only by not even reasonably seeking to contend, first of all, that you're a demon. I want to be clear, my exposure of this criminal system that I'm subject to, it is not only to prosecute. It's not only to teach and inform about what this public corruption looks like and what it behaves like. It's also to let you know about their condition, because that needs to be known. It's also occurring because Dominic Choi is demon possessed. That's what this corruption, that's how it is continuously underway. It's the same for Karen Bass, it's the same for Robert Luna. And while the entity is stalking in a helicopter right now, this is evidence against Karen Bass, it's evidence against Lisa Rogan, it's evidence against the Ontario Police Department, it's evidence against Sean Thrasher of the Ontario Ovid Family Community Library. They're going to federal prison, these actors that engaged in kidnapping as an entity in the specific environment. The entity is literally facing implosion while it is telling on itself about what its pattern of conduct is and who is necessary engaging in it, because you are not ignorantly repeating a pattern. It is impossible to engage in the repetitious pattern of federal group stalking and monitoring in the phenomenon. It's two aspects of that pattern. It's impossible to replicate that. It's impossible for me to manipulate that. But it is impossible that you will have a directed light moving across the gate. So I want to make sure that you review the evidence. The demons are pacing all around. All of these demons are sex offenders. And you also know that because of the engineered light that's moving all across my ceilings, while demons such as speaker companies are using text messages, which is operation of a communication device, they're doing so with simultaneity to the operation of my phone as I'm capturing images of the light source that's remaining over this same exact property from as early as 6:30 in the morning, as you can see through Melania Padilla's passenger side window, and after 6:30 in the evening, where you could see it through the windshields of the same parking lot side in the evening, which is in excess of 12 hours, speaking to the non-movement of a light source, which is not possibly the sun. My apologies, I want to show you the names of those who are going to federal prison, engaging in federal stalking, and they're also documented group stalkers. But SCI is nothing other than the people of the state. It's an illegitimate company. Our top speaker, I'm going to drain the pockets of speaker companies, and he is criminally facilitating federal group stalking and monitoring, both by the demon-possessed workforce that he knows that he has hired for purpose, that he's a group stalker as well. He is demon-possessed as well. This is how this system works. It's how it exists. You don't have an ongoing accidental coincidence of a pattern amongst a population and amongst government bodies and amongst law enforcement departments. Okay, the entity is engaging in what is the ongoing exposure, and let me be clear, while the entity is engaging in that, it is evidence against the entire property. All of Alvarado Gardens is going to federal prison for 24-hour criminal surveillance on the video of the internet in violation of Title 18. Using communication devices. It's a sex offense while they're inherently engaged in ongoing 24-hour invasion of privacy as a government, which is to be recognized under federal law as a sex offense that a government is capable of engaging in. Upon federal group stalking and monitoring, you're a sex offender, and a violent one. The entity is engaging in group stalking in concert with the people of the state, and this is also something to be recognized in the workplace. This is what LAPD is engaged in: ongoing obsessive provision of evidence against itself. If you'll recall, fancy rain gutters, and this is during 12 o'clock in the afternoon. This fake sun's not going anywhere. It's remaining directly over my head. And you see the same demon-possessed actors stalking in a helicopter as I'm capturing the entity, stalking with a method of audible activity while this population's just maintaining a level of noise, just using a seesaw, a leaf blower. It's audible activity while the fake sun is over me as I'm coming inside of my apartment. The entity immediately responds by providing evidence against this population, stalking in a helicopter. That's what I captured in the afternoon. And then the entity that engages in the pattern of its own feudalistic and self-detriment, stalking in a helicopter on video for all the world to recognize the pattern of federal group stalking and monitoring amongst the demon-possessed population. In California, terrorism is underway by stalking in helicopters, and doing so with specific intent to terrorize and harass as an entity. Remember, this is no ordinary or ever before recognized level of harassment. This is a government that's stalking. This is a government that's a sex offender. This is a government that's invading privacy. This is a government that's engaging in what is criminal surveillance and doing so vicariously through a population who share the condition. It's demon possession, a vast demon possession. That's the explanation. Also, the ongoing relevant context to the demonic environment. The so-called sun that's present outside of my living room window this morning at 6 o'clock, speaking to the shadow of the palm tree that's shown at a distance on my living room wall, that's engineered light. And this is also speaking to what is not even the sun at 6:28. It's 10:51 in the morning and it's over my head. This is called rising in alignment to me. And this is what the entity is doing every night while it is setting in alignment to me, which is the pattern of conduct of federal group stalking and monitoring, not the natural environment. This is what the entity is doing at, this is engineer light, and this is the light source that's remaining in alignment to me at 5 in the evening. And the entity is engaging in what is keeping that light source in alignment to me, as I documented, after 6 in the evening, where the light source remains in alignment to my apartment. And then the entity, this is what I'm speaking to with regard to the public safety concern, because this is not just foolishness that a federal court can easily prosecute for. It's not just that. So that's why it's no laughing matter. I laugh because it is foolish. It is funny. But it's not funny because it's revealing a mental illness. A rampant and very serious mental illness. These are demons that are in position of law enforcement in this country right now, targeting American citizens, terrorizing them, and they're bearing weapons, and then they're giving a false narrative about what happened to that targeted individual. You will never know the truth because the people of the state are reporting the news to you. The people of the state are bearing false witness. The people of the state are fully engaged in that attack on an American citizen, where psychopaths who are faced with evidence which you under no circumstances can face in federal court. So you are entirely a delusional, demon-possessed psychopath, stalking, providing evidence against your criminal co-conspirator, the people of the state. You're providing evidence regarding your demon possession, which you wanted to keep a secret while engineer light's moving all across the surfaces. It's captured on video hundreds of times amongst a population that's not even sharing the same neighborhood. This is capturing what is impossible to be a coincidence over and over and over again. The entity does it on video camera, knowing that they're being documented. To continue to do so is not suggesting that you're innocent. By virtue of the existence of the pattern, you are surrounded by evidence of the criminal conduct that you are engaging in. This is recognizing what is made manifest. The demon-possessed want to keep concealed their psychopathic and emotional and personality disorders. They are ticking time bombs. They grow in aggression. They grow in hostility. They grow in psychotic conduct that is criminal, underway by a government who provides abusing their positions, making up false narratives about what's happening to American citizens when they're taking their lives and kidnapping them. This is how you have the crime scene at the courthouse. The light source is over my head. The light source is over my head at the courthouse. It's not over at Alvarado Gardens Apartments while the entity is stalking in a helicopter. That's all manner of all the hallmarks. Stalking with engineered light, stalking by helicopter, and stalking with the light source directly over my head. Those, if we've recognized the P.O.C, I have pointed out what are the hallmarks. In other words, those are the neon blinking signs. This is group stalking. This is group stalking. This is group stalking. All of the hallmarks while I'm capturing this video. And this is pointing to what the Rancho Cucamonga Superior Court is engaging in. This is pointing to what Karen Boss is not ignorant about. This is pointing to what Dominic Choi is going to be removed for. This is a pattern amongst police departments, a pattern amongst sheriff's departments. And then you have a psychopath, a delusional one, who is so obsessed, so far gone mentally. That's speaking to mental illness. Not that they do not understand or recognize the illegality. This is a psychopath that is engaged in a lawlessness, has abandoned all regard for what they should be seeking to contain. But it is providence. It is the providence of the Lord Jesus that you are recognizing what's literally at loose in California. And it is the spirit of Satan that is operating, and it is the explanation for this lawlessness that I'm capturing that's underway by a government Okay, this is the government that's downstairs, walking, crossing path. You can, I could not more heavily document one that is unworthy to be in this country. Okay, speaking in a different language, it is analogous to what Access is engaging in under the light source, picking up an elderly person bent over on a walker. There is no respect for whatever language you speak. You're looking at impunity. No one has forgotten the entity is stalking in a helicopter and the light source and the engineered light. So the entity will engage in using someone of a foreign language. That's legally irrelevant. But this is what a corrupt government is relying on. This is the government that's hiding behind the faces of the people of the state. Well, the people of the state are demon-possessed psychopaths, and they're violent sex offenders. They're nobody to hide behind. The entity is telling on itself through the unnatural behavior that they're engaging in and the pattern that they replicate over and over and over again as they are now faced with the exposure of their whole criminal enterprise. It is currently 10:56 a.m. The point of this video is showing you under no circumstances is the sun in alignment with the leasing office window, like it was when the entity is stalking in helicopter when I'm sitting inside of my leasing office, documenting Yolanda Poon, who is going to federal prison while she works at the corporate office, engaging in federal stalking and harassment as an entity, facilitating federal group stalking and monitoring by a government. While the entity is maintaining the light source over me inside of my apartment right now, as you see it as I step out and the entity is stalking in a helicopter, during the course of this video, it is currently 10:56. This is where the so-called sun is present yesterday when I'm at work. It's over me when I'm looking at building 1816 at 10:43. It's 10:56. This is what the entity was doing while the fake sun's over me inside of my apartment at building 1806. Building 1818, this is on the opposite side. In other words, the back side of my apartment. Building 1816 is at that portion of the apartment. I cannot see the sun. If that was the sun yesterday at 10:43 a.m., then the sun cannot be possibly over this side, over my head at that. I'm not going to see it, in other words. When the fake sun is outside of the bedroom window, it's not seen outside of the same time or outside of the living room window. And the same follows. The entity is maintaining the light source over me yesterday because I'm on the job and I'm walking around the property, and it is simultaneously exposing, first of all, demon possession and a malicious criminal system of federal group stalking and monitoring in concert with the state that's documented group stalking with them. And so as I'm inside of my office, and this is captured at 10:36 in the morning, this video has been underway throughout the course. I started this video at 10:31 in the morning. This is where the sun would not be capable of being seen out over my head through my living room window right now. And as I started this video, if that was the sun, right now it's over my head while I'm walking outside of my leasing office, and I'm walking facing fancy rain gutters, license plate 14855K1, documented sex offender and terrorist. He's going to federal prison. Him and every other actor, they were pacing around in engineer like group stalking with the entity in helicopter while I was documenting them, engaging in a sex offense while this light source was still present. Hours from now, after 12 o'clock in the afternoon, that's not the sun. And this is not the sun that will be capable of being seen through my living room window while it's over my head at 10:36 yesterday morning. It's remaining in the position on the opposite side of this apartment building through my living room window. This is the bedroom window side. I cannot see the sun outside of my living room window if this is it at the same time yesterday. That's speaking to what is real-time movement and a zenith position over the top of my head, which is not the shared reality of the people of the state who are group stalking you. The fake sun doesn't remain, the sun doesn't remain over the people of the state. The light source remains over me. All right, the entity is engaging in stalking in helicopters while a light source remains over me. The entity maintained this light source as I am capturing video at 10:37 in the morning, and I am on the third floor, building 1816, facing Carla Lopez, who's group stalking. Facing Smart Janitorial, the employees who are on the property, they're group stalking while you're holding a prop. Cleaning a window is relevant positioning and light activity creation. The entity stalking in helicopter, just like you saw in this video, while I'm pointing out very damning information. The entity is stalking, driving all around in the streets with engineer light, dragging all across the walls. These are a bunch of demons who also know about every word that I'm uttering. They're violent sex offenders also, while they engage in the provision of an ongoing admission about what they know is being exposed about them while they're continuously engaging in it. This is the light source, not the sun. That's over an opposite side of the apartment building. But yet today, while I stay inside of my apartment of building 1806 facing the hillside, where I would not be able to see the sun if that was the sun at the same time yesterday, while I'm at a totally opposite side of the apartment complex, moving as I move. keeping engineered light on the ceiling. This is the pattern of the blinds horizontally against on the ceiling, having nothing to do with the light source, like I stated. This is called stalking with engineered light, in the same way that demons are crossing paths on the streets and engineered light is moving all across the surfaces. And the demons do more of that psychotic conduct, that demonic behavior, which are fulfilling the elements of monitoring for purposes of group stalking. It's demonic activity, and it's also keeping you under surveillance, also on communication devices and in relevant position. This light source that's remaining over me in the morning at around the same time, the light source is over me at 12 o'clock in the afternoon. You know where the fake sun's gonna be? It's gonna be over my door at the same location where I stood right now, where LAPD provides an admission against all the people of the state, including Carla Lopez, who's going to federal prison, group stalking on the in the workplace. 98420T3, the fancy rain gutters, group stalking while I am in the workplace, and also going to federal prison for group stalking with the entity who was present on video, group stalking in helicopter and amplifying helicopter. 10:44 in the morning, it's 11 o'clock right now. The entity is maintaining the light source right where you see it over me while I'm inside of my living room of building 1806 facing the hillside, not even capable of seeing it while it's over the back side of this building. It is impossible that I would be able to see that. And this is where the entity maintained the light source as I am, let me see, the video where I am walking, here you go, where I am at the top of the building 1816.5 and the light source is over the top of my head. Carla Lopez is maliciously engaging in what is a demonic behavioral pattern. As I began operating my phone, closing the trunk creates light activity on his car while this demon starts walking around in engineered light, not sunlight. He's creating light activity. He does so with simultaneity to my operation of my phone. This is the same identical behavioral pattern amongst a demon-possessed population who want to outwardly conduct themselves. Oh, I just so happen to be choosing this moment to close my trunk and I don't know anything about the target individual. I'm going about my business on the job. They're working at the crime scene. They're present on behalf of the government that's stalking in helicopters, engaging in heavy-duty surveillance, not only in relevant position where the significance of the light and movement in the light are key to that demonic behavior, which is achieving stalking and surveillance, while you're also engaged in surveillance on the venue of the internet. Federal stalking on the venue of the internet is an independent basis of federal prison. SCI's pockets are going to be drained. They're going to be listed as terrorists in the U.S. and all the corporate officers facing time in federal prison and enhancement to that sentencing because they are acting with impunity literally while the workforce is group stalking. And then the entity is going to recall the verbiage and the employee warning notice where both Heather Till and Carla Lopez are group stalking and engaged in federal stalking. They're going to federal prison. They are to date engaging in that pattern of conduct with real-time knowledge and then being a puppet of the state and a puppet of Satan, seeking to obstruct justice, silencing me, referencing my quiet enjoyment that I'm documenting that they are violating. Okay, not only are they copycats, they're engaging in what is an unfathomable level of obstruction of justice and malice. You put animals like that are a threat in cages where this aged animal belongs. He's a violent sex offender. The unnatural environment is the evidence of it.
The light source is right over me.
That's the light source that's directly over the top of my head as I continue to try to capture. There you go. The light source is directly over the top of my head. I'm at building 1816. And so the light source that is remaining over the top of my head while I'm outside of my living room window, and again, moving as I'm at the living room window to going to my front door, that's exactly what the entity is doing. That's how you get this grand departure from the light source that would be over building 1816. So let's look at the map again. The entity is maintaining the light source right now over me outside. I'm inside of building 1806 facing this hillside. At the same time, the entity is maintaining the light source over this portion facing the mailboxes, and the light source is over the top of me at this building, which would be seen out of the living room side, out of the bedroom window portion of the apartment that I'm inside of. It's not capable of being seen outside of the living room window. This is taking a big picture, macro level analysis of what the entity is doing. It's pure asinity. It's nothing other than demonic. It's straight out of hell, and it's not intelligent. It's not intricate. It's not even elaborate. It's plain stalking in a demonic method that you are learning about. Stalking by the demon possessed with engineered light. They do so inside of my private space. That's why you see the engineered light, but that is also dynamic, moving all about on my ceilings and on my walls. It's terrorism, documented terrorism, evidence of a sex offense where surveillance is underway, and also evidence of federal group stalking and monitoring. Maintaining the specific environment inside of the private space is state action. It is where the entity is stalking in helicopters, which is also what I'm capturing in that specific environment. The entity is caught with its pants down, if you will, while that light source is in distinct, differently locations, which is just additional evidence of speaking to the fact that it's not even the sun. In addition to what the entity is doing here while it's outside of the bedroom seemed to be over building 18, 16 in its zenith over the top of my head at the same time that it's over my head while I'm looking outside of my living room window on the next day, speaking to stalking with a fake sun as opposed to the natural environment. There is no sun that's also going to be present over my head in this manner at the same time on June 22nd, 2022. This day I'm at the Chino Branch Library and I'm documenting the pattern of conduct. And the entity is maintaining the light source, speaking to the whole population who is group stalking together. The sun that is over me in this manner is not over my head in the same manner here in Los Angeles, facing my living room, facing the living room window, the hillside, when yesterday it was outside it would be seen outside of the bedroom window and engage in a grand departure. You know why? Because the demon possessed are stalking, and the evidence of demon possession and group stalking is through the unnatural environment. Such psychopaths, such animals who are currently wearing badges and in positions of law enforcement and under the corrupt leadership of demons such as Dominic Choi and Robert Luna and Karen Bass, they are the population that are engaging in this demonic system, and they communicate more of a threat. They communicate more hostility and aggression. This is a public safety concern. There is no shared no shared natural environment where the sun is going to maintain this position over me while I'm at the Chino Branch Library. And what I did was I documented for hours the people of the state, the population via podcast, who are all going to be prosecuted for the same criminal system that I remain subject to date. That's occurring at some random person, 1826 Lobdell Place. That random person is the people of the state. That's why you have the pattern that is incapable of naturally occurring. In other words, the unlikely occurrence of engineer light moving across the gate while you're just driving a car supposedly under the sun, that's over me. That there's no, and it's coming off of supposedly your driver door, and then the entity will they'll do more of the impossible to their own demise. I'm speaking to a mental illness. I'm speaking to psychopathic conduct. In federal court, you don't have a chance. So now you're talking about you're just desperately engaging in more of the same. That's going to be prosecuted and analyzed as well. That's communicated as a threat. It's not only a threat based on its criminal and demonic nature, but it's also a threat because your mental illness is a threat as a whole population. That mental illness is a threat to me while you're group stalking me. That is the same exact analysis and what's equally exhibited while demons are stalking in helicopters. This is what Dominic Choi is fully cognizant of. Dominic Choi may very well be flying the helicopter because that's how much Dominic Choi has the same exact condition. He's engaged in the same exact criminal conduct, facilitating and necessarily so because you don't have a pattern amongst the population and police departments and sheriff's departments and government actors such as Karen Bass where the population or where the state is ignorant about it. It's not possible. I am letting you know, both of all, with regard to what is the criminal system which I have proven beyond a reasonable doubt, and I'm also going to let you know something else, which it is my duty to make sure that you fully understand. The evidence it is also speaking to. Karen Bass is demon possessed. She serves Satan. That's why this is occurring on her watch. This is somebody who is engaging in facilitation of a secret criminal system, and it's not a secret anymore. And she's engaging in what is threatening in concert with the state. The government that's being documented is the government that's communicating a threat. And the government, the people of the state are in the shoes of the government. So let me be clear. The government that's engaging in the pattern of conduct is going to be prosecuted. There is no basis whereby the crime is so great, the defendants are so numerous that you can't even qualify for justice. You cannot attain justice. No, that's not true. And the P.O.C. also establishes that. Third-party, demon-possessed terrorists like you, Kim, who can't even speak the language here, but yet you are targeting and terrorizing an American citizen, and yet you have somehow exemplified worthiness to be here. And I want to be clear, it's the same corrupt government that's letting these people into this country to engage in this secret system. Yes, it does matter that you're not a natural born citizen and you're engaging in this federal group stalking demonic terrorism against an American citizen. Yes, it does as insult to injury when you are here being granted the privilege to be here, and this is what you do with that. And you're doing it in concert with the government that's betraying me, my own government, supposedly. Yes, it does as insult to injury. Okay, so we are a melting pot. Everyone's, flavor. I love flavor and variety. It has nothing to do with specifying people by your race or picking out. I am speaking to the audacity of a government, a supposedly free one. We are California. You need to recognize California is unfortunately, and it should not be, the leader in many ways in the U.S. The leader with regard to what the government's doing, the leader with regard to what's going on in politics, the leader with regard to what what Californians are doing and whatnot. And it doesn't need to be. We should not be. But with regard to the landscape, the legal landscape, with regard to the landscape, with regard to the government and what's going on politically, the governor is not ignorant about what its chief of police, what the judges, what these courthouses are engaging in. And I'm just going to let you know that they're not. What the P.O.C. serves the purpose of is not only I'm going to achieve justice, I'm prosecuting a government for engaging in what is an unfathomable crime. All right, but it's not only serving to prosecute, it's serving to inform. And I'm going to let you know, as an aside, that the government that are in that are in leadership roles, they are fully engaged in this system. They are of the same identical condition. All right, and the entity that is engaging in federal group stalking and monitoring is doing so necessarily and through the ongoing engagement and facilitation of the government, of the courts, the judges, the attorneys, the politicians. That's what's going on in California. That's what's wrong with California, and that's just the reality. The entity is maintaining this ongoing criminal system with ongoing concerted activity, concerted conduct with the very people who are in positions to enable a demon-possessed agency such as the LAPD and the Ontario PD to engage in 24-hour surveillance using helicopters. That's a large amount of resources that are, let me be clear, they are not accounted for with regard to the reality of what's being reported as the so-called law enforcement agencies are giving reports and giving out information to the public about what they're doing, what they're consumed with. They're lying. In the same way that the whole population is not known to be terrorists, engaging in demonic group stalking conduct as an entire state. There's no sun that's over, again, San Francisco and California. This is the reality of the demonic environment that surrounds you. So I want to document what is 11:08 a.m. ongoing group stalking, and this is impunity by the heavily documented group stalkers, and though they are also engaged in federal stalking. And this is the SoCal, and I want to be clear, while the entity engages in this and does so with real-time knowledge, the continuation is speaking to what is the mental illness that's no longer a secret. The entity also wants to conceal the fact that they are progressively engaging in what are acts of hostility, a communicating threat, and this is also how you would analyze any other stalker. The people of the state are the stalker with the state. The entity is flying over my apartment in helicopter with simultaneity to my documentation of this criminal act by the system. And the entity is not in any way separate while the operation of the communication device pursuant to the same identical pattern. Engineered light bouncing off of my walls, which is identification of targeting terrorism, and these demons representing the people of the state are sending text messages, which is operation of the communication device. It's the ongoing pattern. Like I said, these are Carla Lopez, Juan Carlos, Maria Hernandez, Maria Solis Alvarez, and Selena Robledo are documented group stalkers, and they're all going to federal prison. They are serving the grounds for what our top speaker is fully aware of and is facilitating by virtue of his business speaker companies, his real property, Alvarado Gardens, and the people of the state, all of whom are coming onto the grounds. All the vendors, all the residents, all the visitors are documented group stalkers, including the terrorist organizations that are on the grounds by plane and helicopter. They're all group stalking, and so is our top speaker. And everything that he's extending to the state, he's going to be civilly and criminally held liable for it. And his workforce, both at the corporate office and SoCal, they're all going to federal prison. Okay, so it is currently 11:13, where the entity is maintaining a light source in a position distinct from where it was located yesterday while I'm on the job walking around the property, which is impossible that would be the case. If that was the sun, then by all means, there's not going to be any sun that I'm able to see outside of my living room window. But you also know, as a matter of common sense, that there is no sun that's going to be maintained presence, stationary presence necessarily so, for me to capture it 12 hours from its sunrise outside of my living room window. There is certainly no sun that's going to be seen through the Arrowhead Regional Medical Center window that's going to be over in alignment to me, seen while I step outside of that facility at 6:30. This is where the fake sun remains outside of my bedroom window at the same exact address. There is no sunlight that's ever going to create what is engineered light, the pattern of the blinds. This is called stalking with light, and a demon-possessed population are both group stalking in relevant position, and they're also engaged in surveillance on the venue of the internet while they are simultaneously engaging in such elements of monitoring, operation of your communication device with the criminal purpose to harass as an entity while you're exhibiting your demon possession. That's also relevant to harassment. They're also doing it under the guise of the business of a third-party company as speaker companies. That's also legally relevant, and the entity is doing so pursuant to real-time knowledge of everything that's being uttered about them. And this is all of that which is entailed in demonic activity that's underway by a government that's engaged in massive surveillance. All right, it is the matter of public corruption that's fully being exposed. It's currently 11:14 in the morning. This video beginning at 10:31 a.m. And I need to make sure I start capturing that. That's very useful. The entity is maintaining the light source over me, which is pursuant to the pattern of conduct, and I'm subject to what is an ongoing sex offense. So understand that the sex offense is embodied where you are being physically molested with engineer light. That's the entity is always surrounding with molesting your person because they want to obsessively keep you under surveillance. You're going to be prosecuted for a sex offender. No stalker has any consent to touch, nor can you touch with an instrument of your criminal conduct. It is state action. The state is a sex offender because it is stalking you in that engineered environment. The engineered environment is necessary for purposes of this demonic system of stalking in the path and stalking in concert with the whole population. The entity also goes out of its way to touch you with some method of light. That's a sex offense. The entity is engaging in what is criminal surveillance and ongoing group stalking and during any and every private moment in the private space relevant to the sex offense, keeping you under surveillance, aware of everything everything audibly occurring and everything that you're doing and where you're at inside of your private space. That is an exceedingly violent and totally unnecessary. That's going beyond even having a cell phone, being concerned with what I'm doing on my cell phone. That's just a sex offender. Okay? And that's the reality. They're sitting around in helicopters and in police vehicles aware of what I am saying. This is the reality of demonic activity. And you know that because of the maintenance of the specific environment and the simultaneity with which the demon-possessed who are group stalking in that environment maintain the elements. The immediacy that sirens start sounding as I start documenting a demon driving an access vehicle while the fake sun is still over me at the same address after 2 o'clock in the afternoon. The immediacy of sounding helicopter activity while I'm capturing video, showing the fake sun over my head and reminding you about, oh, this same scene is present at an entirely different location, which is impossible to be the sun because there's only one and it is not maintaining ubiquitous presence over everyone in the same zenith manner for the duration of the day, rising and setting over all of us everywhere. As the entity is stalking a helicopter, doing so while I'm inside of my apartment, windows closed, doors closed, and I'm capturing screenshots of these pattern of conduct, and the entity is stalking, appearing with simultaneity, immediacy. That's the entity that's engaged in the sex offense, corporate invasion of privacy, the whole population. That's why they're stalking in the environment, engineer light. The more that you speak to the demon possessed, the more that you expose their criminal conduct, the more aggressive, the more hostile, the more frequent they engage in it. That is a mental illness that is made manifest and is not a secret. And this is, again, necessary with regard to federal prosecution. Mental examinations are necessary across the board with regard to being prosecuted for federal group stalking and monitoring. That's separate and apart from those who are going to federal prison. Alvarado Gardens is, the properties, they're all subject, it's 59 unit. They're filled with third parties and they're going to federal prison for their engagement in the state's criminal system. You want to live in relevant position like 1826 Lobdell, this whole hillside, they're all going to be prosecuted as the population. And I don't need to go by street and get their names. It's very easily to pull up on Google. In addition to that, the federal government will have no problem. I am doing the hard work and I'm pointing out the system. I'm pointing out the consistent pattern of conduct. There is no contradiction to it under any circumstances. And it is also for the benefit of the world to recognize the time that we're in. And Satan is alive and well. Satan uses people. You can also, the personification of Satan is witnessed through the unnatural environment. It's a demonic environment. And it is speaking to the presence of Satan. And he uses people who are in that environment and they are targeting you. Okay, so this is demonic activity. This is demonic activity in 2024 in the so-called civilized and dignified United States. And just a bare bones analysis of that, you strip all of that veil off, there's nothing civilized about it. They are aggressive animals and they're cockroaches in the spirit. And I'm talking about their despicable criminal conduct. Not the fact that they can be delivered, and it's only through the name of the Lord Jesus Christ. But I want to be clear, based on their activity, based on their criminal conduct, based on their pattern of conduct, it's animalistic. It's a threat to the public. They are a threat to everyone that they know and themselves. And this is the reality because it's going to continue to increase. It's not going to decrease. All right, it is currently, again, 11:18 a.m., and this is P.O.C.